such an asshole.
Hello, children. We got another one. I think we got one more after this and maybe two in the pipe. But if you have horror stories for marriage, not because we want to look into the dark abyss, but simply as a warning to disproportionately all the men out there, what real world marriage is like, love to hear your stories. Unfortunately, I do have to charge because obviously these are long and lengthy. I do try to provide a discount because, well, your time invested, but then also this does help people. But yeah, people are like, "Well, you charge?" It's like, God, what do you expect from a company called Asshole Consulting? Yes, these are an hour a piece. I only have like 17 hours a day. I'm awake. So this comes from a client of Pop's. He's one of Pop's numbers. Pop has saved over 500 people's lives after they have gone through bad times. And so this is his dad's story. So I just wanted to share this. I'm in my 40s, so a lot of this happened back in the 80s. My mother accidentally got pregnant on purpose with me to force my dad to marry her. This happens way too often. It's quite possibly one of the most evil things a woman can possibly do. Again, go back to the video I just did, case number 2. I said back in the day when I was listening to Tom Lincoln long ago, I'm like, oh, that's so rare. Girls wouldn't do that, boys. Yes, they would. Yes, they absolutely would. You'll all wonder why I'm for vasectomies. And if you don't know what a vasectomy is, go look it up. You cut your dick off. Okay, enjoy having baby mama drama and lifelong alimony. It really is just purely selfish. It is knowingly creating another human life purely for your own benefit. Yep. Needless to say, the marriage didn't go too great. They had a second child and divorced not long after. The marriage didn't even last 5 years. She used the standard, I don't feel safe and I'm not. Where's that? I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. That's the, I don't feel safe. And I'm not happy nonsense to get the best treatment. However, from there, eventually everything got continually worse. She rented a trailer without him knowing, and one day while he was at work, got some friends together and cleaned his house out. She literally robbed the guy blind and acted like she was the victim of the situation. Anytime, like, I'm just a girl, I don't know any. They know women have agency. They just choose not to use it. Obviously, not all. I didn't know journalism was a bad degree. I need a bailout. She literally robbed the guy blind and acted like she was the victim of the situation. The kicker is that even though she didn't feel safe, she was the one that was physically abusive, not only to him, but also to me. Of course, he couldn't do anything about it, as if the police would have been called, he likely would have been the one to get in trouble. After this, she drug him through a years long custody battle and did everything she could to ensure he couldn't see his children as often as he wanted while actively sabotaging him in any way she could. How pretty was she? I almost want you I almost want you guys to start sending me like a picture of your mom at her peak. Like, you got a picture of your mom when she was 25. I got to know, cuz there's no way a guy would put up with this stuff unless your dad was truly ugly or your mom was superbly hot. There's no way. Would you tolerate this from a male friend? Like, you had a male roommate and they're stealing stuff for how long would you tolerate that? Man, the power of pussy. Holy shit. uh she would do things like offer to pick me up from school, not do it, and then say he was supposed to be the one to do it to make him look bad. Strangely, I saw through the attempts at parental alienation and figured out what was going on. Speaking up, however, had been beaten out of me by then. Needless to say, this kind of scenario doesn't exactly create the groundwork for a good childhood. Oh, and obviously you were one of the people that Pop had to save. Obviously. We haven't even talked about what the ramifications for the kids are. I think you're the second one we've had where you're the kid talking about his dad's marriage. And we're just like, oh my God, look what happened to my dad. Yeah, look at the waste. I mean, like, here's a saying coming up. The damage and destruction wreaked by, I don't know what we call it, a dishonest woman, a dishonest mother, pales in comparison to a tornado. I know that, okay, yeah, you tore up the father, but look at the damage you left behind for these poor kids. The divorce, of course, was messy and led to massive child support payments. He paid them, but because Reduced custody led to higher payments. That's why she pushed for. Meanwhile, of course, here we go. Meanwhile, she squandered the money pretty badly and blamed him for all of her financial problems. She often didn't have a car, as paying for things on time was something she apparently never learned. We moved around constantly and got evicted from multiple places. We were definitely squatting at least one of the places we lived. American parents, particularly in this case, the mother, don't love the children more than themselves. Generally speaking, calling it, not backing away from it, prove me wrong. Aaron, that's not all. Oh, yeah, well, you start showing me the happy stories. You show me the Kostelecki clan. You show me where the dad's investing in the kid and the mom's there too. You show me that. Not you. I'm not angry at you, sir. All these Democrats running around virtue signaling, they don't raise their own damn kids. You're a bunch of disgusting pigs, all of you American parents. We were definitely squatting. This place in particular was a large house that would have been expensive to heat, so it was kept absolutely minimal in the winter. Half of the house didn't have working heat at all. Needless to say, this was where my bedroom was. She had dozens of dresses and boxes full of shoes, but just couldn't seem to pay the rent on time. Aside from that, she often hired a babysitter so she could go out and party constantly. Yep. Yeah, never mind. I swear she spent more time at the bar than she did at home with her children. Okay, let me ask a question to you, sir. Is there really a difference between the office and the bar or the nightclub in this case? I know your mom shouldn't be out drinking and partying. I get that. But what's the difference with the mom being at the office? There is the argument she's working to pay for a better. I get that, but you're not there. You just, we need two incomes. Stop voting to raise people's taxes then. But then I won't be popular. Okay, so the popularity in virtue signaling is more important than you having the time and the money to spend with your kids. Got it. I think the next couple of years, I'm going to be making distinct conclusions as to people's policies based on their actions, regardless of what they say. Because I don't give a damn if women say they love their children. If ain't nobody raising them, and it's more important to get the MBA and buy your stuff and buy your trinkets. You don't love your kid. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. The fact that you should raise your damn kids. He's an evil Republican, libertarian. Get it right. Weekends were usually spent at my grandparents' house. I got a reputation with them as having a massive appetite. In retrospect, this is because I never received proper or enough food at home. Dinner was often nothing more than a packet of ramen noodles. Fortunately, we were on a free lunch school district that had school breakfast that was available. Otherwise, I would likely have never eaten properly growing up. My grandparents did what they could, but there are limits to what you could accomplish over weekends. Meanwhile, my mother would also play chicken with the well-being of her children to get extra stuff from others. She would refuse to buy new clothes for us as we grew up, knowing that eventually somebody else would step in and do it. Man, she must have had a really good taste in pussy. Really good taste in pussy. While the marriage was still together, the primary conflicts, hang on. All right, there we go. Were always about, marriage was still together. While the marriage was still together. The primary conflicts were always about money. He was extremely responsible and had the house paid off within a few years. He avoided debt and saved. She demanded that he take on as much debt as possible. The previous client, never getting married. I'm going overseas. All the women out there, I can't believe the passport bros. A woman or anyone else for that matter could gladly come up with the successful marriages, of which we have one potentially in the mix. Someone's going to send me a good marriage story. Okay. A decade of this goes by. Let's see how many bad ones versus good ones we got. Sell us, ladies. Sell us on this thing you call marriage. Interesting. Hello, can we convince you to take a look at the institution of marriage? Oh, well, what are the pros and cons? Well, we'll just take all your money and we'll blame you, and maybe you'll get in jail and ruin your career and take your children from you. Oh, well, tell me more. Since the house and car were paid off, it was time to immediately borrow to get something bigger and nicer. Meanwhile, nothing was ever good enough, and she had every trinket and bauble that was available. A common demand was that he buy her nearly every craft stuff so she could finish it, improve her appearance in the community by being generous with such things, even though that took barely any effort of her own. While they were together, I can't remember her ever having. Here we go with this absolutely, guys, laziness explains everything. Forget husband, wife, male, female dynamic. They just don't want to work. That's it. Why do you think they vote Democrat? These people they literally will torture. That's what I was going to say, kill, but they will torture their children as long as they don't have to work. Some of them will live in tents in below zero temperatures as long as they don't have to work. That's how powerful laziness is and how weak they are. While they were together, I can't remember her ever having a job, but I also can't remember her actually cooking anything. It was usually my dad that did that sort of thing. The pussy, what's it? Not your dad. I'm just saying he was real addicted to it. If she was in the kitchen at all, it was canned soup at best. Unsurprisingly, this proceeded after the divorce. Beyond that, she was so bad with money and wrote so many bad checks that every bank in town refused to allow her to have a checking account. How she avoided being criminally charged for writing money so many bad checks is a mystery to me. Well, because she has a hoo-ha. She was a poor single mother. Otherwise, she would at times see something she wanted, then randomly call up my dad and make the demand, I want money to buy that thing or you will never see your children again. When she did have a checking account, she would write a check at the store, say, don't cash this until next week, and then act like they did something wrong when it bounced. I want to see. I won't post the pictures. You guys just gonna have to trust me on that. You can sue me if I do. I just got to see how good looking these women are. I just got to see how good looking they are. Because, all right, look, she didn't come into the wedding or the marriage some studious, hardworking rancher girl. You know, dad made her work on the ranch, and then she became this insufferable pain in the ass. She had to be drop dead gorgeous. And her dad also had to not be around or present, but absent. And there had to be no discipline. And she had to have gotten by on her looks the entire time to avoid any responsibility because a bunch of simps from middle school, from puberty on, saved her ass until she ended up being married to your dad. It had to be that. There's no way. Nothing was ever her fault, even it was just the result of her own knowing irresponsibility. Things essentially never improved. She did nothing to ensure we had a proper upbringing beyond what she had to do to not lose custody. This was, of course, not a high bar. The incessant moving and clear indicators that we were poor as hell led to the expected problems of social isolation. I had ended up developing severe crippling depression before I was even a teenager. Mind that this is not I don't feel like doing anything, so I diagnose myself with depression levels. There is a genuine diagnosis, and some days it's hard for me to even move levels. 100%. With that background, 100%. You are not the suburbanite. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. I'm going to listen to Billie Eilish and feel sorry for myself. Dad, can you give me some more pita pockets? I probably already developed severe PTSD before I was even 10, thanks to how bad things were. I would not doubt it. There are periods of my childhood that are black voids in my memory. I really don't want to know what's there. She simultaneously told me that I was entirely on my own as to getting into or through college and that I had to go be a doctor. Of course, I wonder why. That is, of course, rather paradoxical. Becoming a doctor typically requires family support to get through it all. Applying for college also isn't exactly free, nor is taking the SAT. However, she drug her feet on helping me get my driver's license, so it wasn't like I could exactly work to get the money on my own to take care of such things. However, the expectation was that I would go become a doctor so she could have bragging rights and also take a significant chunk of the money. No kidding. Really? I wonder if there's a theme here. It seems like they only want one thing. Despite that expectation, I got thrown out into the wild while still a teenager with only a few $100s to my name in an area that was never good, Never had a good job market as long as I can remember. Most of my 20s was just surviving day to day at the bottom of society. Sounds somewhat familiar. My dad, of course, got absolutely destroyed by the entire situation. He was never the same after the divorce and ended up going on a slide downward. See, he needed Pop. My mother, of course, didn't exactly help. She seemed to take joy in doing anything she could to hurt him. I'll spare the details, but he died earlier in the year. And this is one of the reasons I feel the need for this story to be told and heard. If I can afford the charge, I'll pay it. Not completely broke, just need to be careful, as it were. I was surprised that my mother attended his funeral and honestly downright offended that she did. Oh, it was for attention. I hope you've cut this woman out of your life, dude. You cannot have, she's a liability. She's horrible for you. I mean, I know you and I can look at that with clear frontal cortex brains, but because she is your mom, there might be some psychological attack. You have got to get this person out of your life. She's vile. She attempted to speak to me and I was having none of it. Good man. Same with more or less the entirety of my extended family. The only people who I saw try to do anything about my mother's horrid behavior are all dead now. Everybody else just kind of stood by and let it happen. I'll get to my profession later, but on the day of my dad's funeral, more than one person who knew about what field I'm in dropped hints that I should send them money. Dreadful people. Yep. Horrible people. Your family is out there somewhere. It just wasn't the people that your family hung around, your biological. It's not your biological family. The damage extends just beyond my mother's immediate surroundings. Due to her selfish actions, as well as those of others in the family, there are no real social ties there anymore. The extended family never gets together anymore, and overall, my thought has become, I want nothing to do with these people. No, they're bad people. This I've noticed is something that few people think about these days. What happens when you betray the trust of others or behave in a purely selfish way? Eventually, people get sick of your shit and want nothing to do with you. It tears families apart and does nothing but leave a tale of ruin. There's the tornado. I told you, laziness. Here, you want another? Everyone sit down. Here, get your pen. I'm about to give you a great quote. Laziness is more powerful than love. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your family would rather be lazy than love. Well, if we helped out the little boy who's obviously in desperate need, that would require work on our part. Hey, can you give us money? Those that do go on to success remember the complete lack of support they had along the way and respond with laughing out loud, nah, when asked for money. Oh, yeah. People ask for money. People ask for friendships. People ask for relationships. Block. Moot, delete, not even respond. The dodged bullet. I had ended up stumbling into MGTOW thoughts pretty young before I had even heard of it. This was largely due to my first girlfriend who was abusive, cheated with at least 5 other guys. Man, you got no breaks. You got no breaks, man. I'm sorry. How hard is it? Like, I recall, I could be wrong, but I recall my grandparents getting along okay. Okay, I'm sure it was never rosy, like, it wasn't painted as it was in the picture, but I don't remember girls actively abusing or hating men like this. I don't. How hard is it? Just basic, treat someone nice, be polite, be civil, be pretty. Again, you show me the articles, you show me the story where, like, I stayed in shape for my husband and I made food and I did everything. You show me. I'm sure they're out there, but they're not the majority, and they can't be. 70% of men and women, 75, I think it is now, percent of men and women are fat and overweight. So don't you be telling me you actually want a loved one. You like laziness in your life is more powerful than love. Because if love was more powerful than laziness, you'd hit the gym. Cheated with at least 5 other guys and was just trying to get pregnant for similar reasons to what my mother did. This relationship did not last long, not even a year. Because of your background, which I actually don't know, but it sounds like you're working really hard at it, will you please consider getting a vasectomy so you just avoid this? Consider it. The relationship didn't last long, not even a year. There really isn't much to say about it beyond that what I saw my dad go through in this relationship made me suspicious about ever getting married or having children, as you rightly should be. The cheating and her plan, I didn't find out until years later after we had broken up. Unsurprisingly, last I heard, she moved to a welfare-heavy state and became a fat single mother. Shocking. One could likely argue that this is a dodged bullet as well as they're probably right. One could argue. Probably 100%. How many dicks did she need to take in her mouth before you'd say, oh, hey, this is wrong. That's a bad girl. Like one, I would say. And now she's a single mom. Right. I love how, I know this isn't much of a consolation because you guys have all gone through hell and so did your fathers. These women are miserable. Like, imagine what that's like. Like, my goal is to get on welfare and get fat and then live in a trailer park and live a lower middle income life. Not to mention the headache that comes with raising or you're dealing, and dare don't call it raising, dealing with children. You don't think about this. I know you were there. What was that like for your mom? She must be constantly pissed off, squatting. Like, it's not like she didn't escape unscathed. Now, she should have been tortured and pained and punished way more. Way more. But geez, the extent women will go, the stuff they will suffer to avoid having a nice, to become June Cleaver, to be in shape, to be pretty, and to just maintain a home. The stuff they will suffer to avoid that. Oh my God, suck a guy's dick and maybe put on a dress and make some food? I'd rather go and squat in a house without heat. Wow, you girls really hate tradition, don't you? I got to assume some of you hate men that much too. One could likely argue that this is a dodge bullet as well, and they're probably right. No, they are 100% right. In retrospect, I should have dropped it long before I did, but I was also a dipshit 18-year-old who really didn't know any better. The real, okay, so then you have the dodge bullet story, which I'm going to save for later. Yeah, I'm going to save that for later. We'll have that on the podcast, so I'll mark that. I will mark that. But there you go. Spread it around, guys. Get this out there. If you got stories, I want to hear them. And in intellectual honesty, I want to hear the good ones. And I have a feeling the good ones are going to be rather subdued. I could give you 3 stories of 3 couples I know that were madly in love. And that's 3 out of the literally thousands. It's got to be thousands, maybe tens of thousands of married couples I've seen. Americans aren't mature enough for marriage. Women are not. They don't want it. To put it that way very clearly. And you boys do not have the life expectancy or the finances or the mental resources to suffer this stuff. You just it's abuse. This is abuse. Don't do it. Link below. What do I got linked below? Got something linked below. These would be the standard resources. All right. The dad you never had. Okay. I'm not saying your dads are bad. I'm just saying they weren't there and they weren't equipped. Right? Like the baby boomer fathers, they weren't malicious. They just got blindsided by baby boomer women sharpening their knives with the divorce Olympics that they were planning. All right. But there's no dads out there anymore. There really isn't. So if you don't have a dad or your dad didn't raise, if your dad didn't warn you about this, please go take my course, The Dad You Never Had. It's available on Teachable. Do you want to end up being married like this? You don't? Please take that course. And there's some 12 hours of other very important life lessons that you need to have in there. There's the menu. Life Without the Opposite Sex. We are in unconventional times where you're not supposed to get married. Marriage is a death sentence, or certainly a 50% chance of it. And you say, well, what do I do? Normally humans had families and children. What do I do now? That's right. Yeah, what do you do? Well, you don't waste your life. And I recommend getting the menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex. Half of you forecasted not to be married, and the other, more than half, are going to be miserable if you stick together. So please, for the love of God, get the menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex, so you know what to do in life until maybe you do find the right one that comes along, which maybe never. In half the cases, it will be. The Book of Numbers, if you don't believe this, now admittedly, this is the worst of all scenarios. These stories are horrible. but that don't mean marriage and then a divorce, which happens half the time, is fun either. Will you please go get the Book of Numbers, analyze the ROI in the pursuit of women, so you boys know the mathematical chances and risks of you having success or failure, and then the costs associated with it. These are stories. These are anecdotes. These are color in. Here's an example that the Book of Numbers is an actuarial study. It's like reading a book on gambling, like playing blackjack. What are your chances? Blackjack is better. And then for those of you like, well, what do I do in the meantime? May I please recommend you get your financial act together? You can go get Bachelor Pad Economics, available on Amazon, all of that link below. Do we have any super chats? We got 2. Donna Hannaford, $2 Australian. I love Pop. Please do a yearly subscription like Pop. We all got different, I guess, business models. I'm so burnt out, Donna. I'm tired. Really tired with others. Not of this, of other stuff. I just have to deal with regular life shit. And I don't have the energy. I'm eternally grateful I get super chat. I think that's just the cat's meow, man. I was like, I can't believe it. This is good enough for me. I'm very appreciative. Sam Whiskey, most American name in America. $10. Cappy's college roommate Justin Trudeau is separated from wife. Perhaps he should read the book of numbers instead of the UN Charter. I hope she takes him for absolutely everything. I hope she takes him. I don't care what. I don't care how. I hope she runs off with a black guy. Come on, there's got to be a masculine black guy in Canada, a conservative masculine that's just going to dick her down good. Come on, where's our black conservative libertarian Canadian black guys? Please, God almighty, please. One of you go and dick her. I will send you a nice good bottle of whiskey or scotch. Sam Whiskey, $5.80. Cappy, my coworker noticed the shoe print in the headliner of his wife's car. She knew nothing. How does that happen? The headliner. Shoe print in the headline? What's a headliner? You mean up on the roof? You know, the smushy, foamy part of your roof on the car, the ceiling of your car, that's what there's a shoe print up there. I'm so sorry for these. Look, I laugh about it now. Pop laughs about it now, but we were all there, guys. We were all there. Every guy's been cheated on. All right. Every gal is not every gal, but we've all been there, and it's crippling. It is crippling and life destroying. And I get it, but guys, hear me out. Once you get to the point you realize, oh, it was going to be like that all the time. That emotional, psychological, biological programming will go away. And then you'll be like a Gen X Iron Man. You'll be like, oh, you it won't hurt anymore. You're just like, oh, okay, I see how it goes. All right, I got it. Oh, look, and I don't know about maybe Sam. I should talk to Pop. Like, but do you ever feel ashamed you were so naive? Like, do you feel ashamed or like, oh, I couldn't believe it's not that you were a pussy, but you were human. That you let the emotions, like you actually felt like you should have known better. Like you should have known better not to major in English. You should have known better that the really hot single mom was going to be a bad choice. Like, do you kick yourself in the shins for like, oh, you want to fall in love and have sex with a really great girl? Yeah. Like, oh, and then she left you. Were you stupid enough to feel bad about that? I'm kind of ashamed to say I was. But there's other. It's we've all been there. We've all been there. Yeah, and he's gonna go through that. Why is there a footprint on the liner of the car? All right, things linked below. We'll see you guys later. More on the way. Toodles.